A lot of people come to Montana to get away from it all, and we constantly are asked, where is the most remote part of Montana? Well, in this video, we'll talk about the remote spots around the state, and then we'll take you to the most remote spot in Montana. So let's start out by talking about central Montana. So as we've talked about before on this channel, Montana is the fourth biggest state in the nation, and it wasn't too long ago that we just went over 1 million people in population. And most people, when they talk about remote areas, they think of being up in the mountains somewhere in the middle of the woods. But this part of Montana is one of the most remote parts of Montana. And as you can see here, there's no trees to be seen. It's wide open. Like I've joked before, it's the place where you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. And there's just not that many people that live out here. And when you zoom in a little bit on this part of central Montana, you can see the area that we're going to discuss right here. And there's just not tons of towns. And if you look at this map, where I basically drew a circle around the area that we're talking about, you will see that there's nothing out there. There's the Fort Peck Lake, which was formed by the Fort Peck Dam on the Missouri River, and there's only a couple of towns right through the middle of it. We got Jordan, Circle, and when we go back to this close-up here, we'll go right through the middle of this circle that I made, and you can see the little towns. And I went from Lewiston over here on the west side all the way up to Sidney, and I got the populations of all the towns through there. And all those little towns, a couple of them have a population of 0, so I'm not even sure why they're on the map. But when you add all of the population up of that together, it's 1,604 people total. So when you go back to this circle we're looking at earlier, that's not even including, that's just the Highway 200 right through the middle of it. But in this whole circle, there's probably less than 2,000 people. And if you look at this circle, it's 739 miles if you were to drive this circle. So everything in the middle of that is pretty remote. And like I said, Jordan is kind of right in the middle of this map here that I've drawn out. And Jordan has a population of 366 people. And when I talk remote, Billings is the biggest town in Montana, but if we're looking at true major cities, Jordan is 595 miles away from Denver, it's 699 miles away from Salt Lake City, and it's 736 miles away from Minneapolis. And one more thing about a town on the top of that circle, the Washington Post actually did a study to find out which town in the lower 48 states best represents the middle of nowhere, and it was Glasgow, Montana. So of all the towns with more than 1,000 residents, Glasgow, which has 3,300 residents, is the furthest from any metropolitan area of more than 75,000 people. It's at least 4.5 hours in any direction from a major city. Back to the view out here in the west, or the central part of Montana, as you can see, very remote, not a lot of trees, of course, but if you're looking for a place that doesn't have many people, central Montana fits that bill without a doubt. So like I said in the intro, I'm going to take you guys along with me, and we're going to find the most remote spot in Montana. We get so many people asking about the remote areas of Montana, we thought it'd be fun to take you to the spot that is the most remote part of the state. So join us as we go and find it. All right, this is as far as we can get in the car. Let's go find it. So as we continue our trek to find the most remote spot, let me tell you a little bit about southwest Montana. So southwest Montana is another very remote part of the state, but it's bisected by Interstate 15, and as we zoom in on this area, you can see once you get south of Interstate 90 down to Dillon, once you get south of Dillon, there's basically only two towns, Dell and Lima, and they have a population of Dell is 63 and Lima is 210 people, and then Monida claims 2 people that are residents. So if you look at this whole circular area here, there is very few people, less than 500 people in this big area. And you also have the Centennial Valley, which is just north of Monida and kind of runs along the Idaho border, and just a beautiful part of the state. A couple big ranches out there, but really not a lot going on. And as you can see by the photos here and videos that I've done videos on this area, there's just not a lot out there in any of this section of I-15 except ranch land, and Dillon is the biggest town you're going to hit, and that has about 4,000 people. And from this area of Montana, you're about 300 miles north of Salt Lake City. Let's keep looking for the most remote spot. Well, I think we're getting close, but let me tell you about one more spot known as the Yaak. So the last remote spot I want to tell you guys about is way up here in the northwest corner of Montana. You're bordered by the Canadian border on the north, Lake Koocanusa on the east, and the Idaho border on the west. And as you can see, there's no highways even running through this whole area. You have the little town of Yaak right in the middle, and Yaak is said to have a population of 299 people. So once again, this is a huge piece of land right here with less than 500 people living up there. So very remote area, very beautiful area, as you can see, just a spectacular part of the state, and very, very remote. Speaking of remote, let's finish our journey and show you the most remote spot in all of Montana. Told me it's really well marked. Oh, there it is. We found it. Here it is, the most remote spot. Hopefully next time you guys are in Montana, you can find this spot as well.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call, text, or email for more information, and don't forget to watch our other videos about Montana.